Kia ora and welcome everyone to another episode of Big Life Mindset. Before I introduce the next segment, a quick heads up that soon I'll be launching another podcast called Confident at Work. Now, this new podcast will focus purely on helping you be more confident at work in every possible situation. Asking for a pay rise, dealing with an asshole at work, managing meetings, getting decisions in your favor, knowing how to do interviews, all of it. This will mean if you're joining me for coaching advice, you'll be able to get straight to that stuff without hearing stories of me catching armed robbers or partying with famous people. From my perspective, it means that I can share a lot more of those personal stories that tend to be illegal or R18 without toning it down for listeners that I know would benefit from the professional development side of things. Expect to see that new podcast, Confident at Work, in a couple of weeks. But for now, let's get down to business. All right, so my next guest is Rachel Dudfield from All You Need Is Love. This is the first episode in my Living Your Passion series, where each female guest highlights the challenges women face in chasing their passions and provides guidance to husbands, partners, brothers, friends on how we can support them. This one is packed with practical advice and insights from a person that, self-confessed, has spent a lot of time in pajamas feeling sorry for herself, having a brain that's a hot mess, and tried juggling too much. Something that I think will feel familiar to a lot of us. All right, let's go. Welcome. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Fabulous. So I'm very generously joined here by Rachel Dudfield. Please tell me a little bit about yourself. Actually, before I start with that question, I've wanted to catch up with you for a long time, believe it or not. And we kind of crossed paths at a concert. We were standing in a queue, but I can't remember what the concert was for now.
Neither can I. Life is insanely busy.
It certainly is. And I thought, oh, that's right. And so you've been on my radar since then. And one of the reasons why is because, from my perspective, you live a very fascinating life. And so I wanted to kind of pull out some of that. So tell me a little bit about All You Need Is Love. Okay,
so a long time ago, I got made redundant on maternity leave, and it was absolutely awesome because I've always wanted to be a mum and hang out with my kids. But I had daycare booked and everything, so I had been planning to go back to work. And by getting made redundant, I got a bit of a payout, and it meant that I could just stay at home and have another baby, which seemed like a great idea, and it was, and I don't regret much. I wish I'd walked them more, but anyway. Walking's good for your mental health. So one day started volunteering and doing some stuff. So I've been at home on maternity leave for 12 years, but I was constantly working or volunteering, things that worked around the kids. So I started volunteering for Parent Centre, and then I just remembered how much I enjoyed my classes, and I'm like, oh man, I'd love to do that. And it would work really well around the kids because the classes are in the evenings or on weekends. So I made a bit of a snap decision and started training to be a child birth educator and doing a diploma, long distance, online with 2 kids under 3 kind of nearly broke me. It was horrific because I didn't study at school. We went to the same school, and it's astounding how
few of us actually studied as well.
Oh, I know, right? I thought you were going to be a real achiever.
No, I'm just a nerd.
Yeah, no, see, I'm not a nerd, and I just wing it constantly. That's how I get through life. And so having to actually study, my husband was phenomenal and had to teach me how to write an essay. And he read everything I submitted. So he's the best unqualified childbirth education husband in Wellington.
That's awesome.
He's been an amazing support, and I had lots of friends at the time, and we did lots of babysitting, swapping and things, but it was fly by the seat of my pants the whole time. My stress levels were just up around my eyeballs, which is pretty much standard for me. So I did that, and I started teaching antenatal classes, but I was only able to get space. So I live in Johnsonville, and I was only able to get teaching positions in Island Bay and Lower Hutt. And to have the classes start and do the setup and everything, I was sometimes kind of leaving home hubby would get home and I would be tag and out the door. Sometimes I'd have the car loaded and the engine running. so that he could take over the kids. And then I'd go and I'd teach these classes and meet amazing people, but then I'd never see or hear from them again. And I really wanted to teach locally, but there was just no positions available at the local centre. And so it was like, man, I know how to do all of this. Why don't I just try and do it for myself? So I found some space at a church up the road, kind of mapped it all out and started advertising. Had to push my first antenatal class back a month because I didn't have enough people to run it. And since then, it's just been going. And so I've got myself and a helper, someone who attended my classes, a mum, and she's my parent helper, which is amazing because, hi Dana, she's just an amazing human being and just takes some of that physical load off as well.
Cool.
And the mental load, because if I'm sick, she can cover for me. And after covering for me a few times, I said, do you want to teach a whole set of classes? So she does that now. Yeah, so we're teaching class number 51 at the moment. Yeah, so that's, if you think kind of, some classes might have 8 couples, but most have 10 to 12, and some classes might have 14 or 15. So there's a lot of people out there. And I started calling them Johnsonville antenatal classes, but then found that people who lived in Newlands were like, oh, because if they don't know the area, they're like, oh, can I go to those? Because I don't live in Johnsonville. So I changed it to Rachel's antenatal classes, because that's what the people were calling them. Oh, did you do Rachel's antenatal classes? Yeah. So I just went with that. Yeah, so people just keep coming from all over. And sometimes there's not enough availability from other providers.
Yeah.
So I'll get people from the Hut or Pukerua Bay or Titahi Bay or, I don't know, somewhere Wellington South, but not very often. So most of my people, probably 80%, are Wellington North people, which is really cool, which means I see people on the streets. I see people in the mall, if you can ever find a reason to go to Johnsonville Mall. We're sitting here right now and there's a baby massage class happening next door, and there's going to be my babies in there, which is really cool.
That is super cool.
It's really, really nice. It's like a village, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of it. And then kind of halfway through this, a couple I knew were talking about getting married, and they were talking about who would marry them. And then I remembered, so I've been married twice. I'm on my current favourite husband, and my celebrant was really, really nice, and she did a great job. And I'm like, man, I could do that. So boom. I'd looked into it previously, but at that time you had to have a reason for applying, what hole in the community are you going to fill?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, none. I'm bog standard, there's nothing. I'm not bilingual. I can't do sign language. I don't provide anything extra. Mm-hmm. I'm not LBGTQI or anything, so I didn't bother. And then they kind of loosened it, and I applied, and I got in, and I said to this couple, I could marry you, I'm legal now. And they went, oh, we're actually not going to get married. So that was my great first thing. But I've done well over 200 weddings now.
That's incredible.
It really, really is.
That number is staggering.
It really, really is. And it's been 9 or 10 years maybe, 8 or 9 years. Yeah, but I'm definitely tapering back on that because my other work is now filling up my days. So working evenings and weekends isn't quite as exciting as it used to be.
Yeah, sure. And you're obviously juggling a lot.
Oh, God, yes.
And to get to the point that you're at is just so impressive considering all the barriers and all the hurdles that you had to kind of navigate. When you look at some of those challenges that you've had, what are some of the ones that have made you think, actually, this is going to stop me from doing this thing that I want to do? And how have you navigated that?
Yeah, there's the classic, self-doubt or imposter syndrome. But because I'm comfortable with public speaking, I knew I could perform a ceremony. And I didn't think I had any creative outlet at all, but actually creative writing for speeches and ceremonies and antenatal classes is my outlet. I didn't realise that for many years. But so I know I can write a good ceremony. I know I can deliver a good ceremony. And so that, I haven't had any doubts about that. But it's a lot of balls juggling in the air. And there have been a couple of times where I've stuffed up. And wedding days are really, really tense. And you do not want to make a mistake on a ceremony day. But there have been a couple of times where I've made I don't want to say boo-boo because that belittles it, where I've made an error. And it's taken a lot of time to not kick myself about that kind of thing. You apologise, you offer a partial refund if it was that big. But everyone has always got married on the day, so it's not like I didn't show up.
Yeah. It's such a, like, you're really the focal point. Like, you're the bit that pulls it all together. And I can speak with some experience on this because, thankfully, Rachel took me under her wing when I started my wedding celebrant's journey. And that one ceremony that I oversaw, I actually dropped the ball on that as well. And I think I mentioned I got right through to the end and I announced them husband and wife, and then the bride turned around and she said, "We haven't signed the paperwork." And it was one of those facepalm moments. And I thought, oh my God.
Yeah. And that's just, we're doing that afterwards, don't worry.
Yeah. But it was cool. Like, I think it kind of folded into everybody just like, I think everyone thought that was part of the show, actually. Yeah. And if somebody was going to do it, was going to be me.
That is the kind of thing, though, that if someone is particularly tense, people have dreamed about their wedding for their whole lives.
Yeah.
And actually, if people have a lot going on in the background that you don't know about, that kind of thing could be a focal thing. That could, Yeah. So
it turned out it was all in my head, actually.
Yeah, and we overthink things. And
that's totally overthink things. I really liked how you kind of talked about the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome, because I think most, if not everybody I know, faces that.
Yeah, massively.
What are some, like, I guess, practical ways that you can way around some of the self-doubt stuff?
I suppose I kind of have this internal monologue that I know I'm doing it. Okay, so I drive my car, right? Mm-hmm. I drive my car. I had driving lessons a long time ago, 36 years ago. No, that can't be right. Math's terrible. Time ago. And I know how to drive my car.
Yep.
Right? I've got a driver's license, so I can get in my car and drive anywhere. So the work I'm doing, I just know I can do it because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
If I was to try and drive a giant truck, like an 18-wheeler, I wouldn't try and do that until I had some giant 18-wheeler driving lessons. And then I'd practice, and then I'd be comfortable, and I'd be kind to myself while I'm practicing.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I love that.
Yeah, very important. And so antenatal classes, I've got a diploma in it. I'm a mum of 2 kids, right? So you are the most qualified person in the room to do that job. You're not perfect. No one's perfect.
Yep.
And there's a different way of saying everything. And my classes change constantly. I'm constantly rewriting them. Does my husband's head in. He's like, nothing's changing. Why do you keep rewriting them? Like, because I'm making them better and better. Nice. And that passion that I have for the classes translates into the experience people get. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm really kind to myself, but I also don't stretch myself to try and do something I'm not comfortable doing. Mm-hmm. I had a beautiful couple, and he was Samoan, and his surname was 7 syllables. And I phonetically practiced that until I was perfect at it. Sadly, his middle name, Milo, is pronounced Milo, not Milo. Mm-hmm. And I realised that mid-ceremony. Unlike the drink. And I had no idea, because I've only ever heard of the, Milo and Otis, the movie, So, and the bride turns to me and she goes, "It's Milo." So I repeated it again correctly. And, afterwards you kick yourself about it. And so now I check the pronunciation of every name. Houghton Bay. If your surname is Houghton and is Houghton and you're English, it's pronounced Horton.
There you go.
So
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So I always check. Always ask how to pronounce everything.
So there's kind of some practical steps that you can put in place to help you continue progressing.
And that's kind of how I've managed through my life, is thousands of tiny little steps, checklists, multiple reminders in my phones, multiple, sharing my calendar with my husband so that he knows that I've got a wedding on that day. He knows I've got a rehearsal on that day. So I just don't forget.
Nice.
And those little tiny steps keep me knowing I'm doing an okay job.
Nice. Now, you've mentioned your husband a couple of times.
Yes.
And one thing I'm really keen on exploring is the role that husbands, sons, nephews can play in supporting a person through their journey. What's some of the things that you've found have worked? Well,
if he doesn't start things with, "You just need to," so as soon as I kind of stopped him from saying that, but, okay, so being there, that means being connected and communicating, and he likes to lock himself away in his study and do computer games in the evening. That's cool. But he doesn't do that every evening. He's down with me. We're talking at mealtime. We are keeping in contact during the day, reminding each other of things constantly. And so when it's related to my study or my being self-employed or my mental health, we have these communications around, what do you need? And he needs less than me. He's awesome. He's very, very laid back. And he doesn't need much. He wants less animals in the house, but he doesn't, other than rehoming all our animals, he doesn't need a lot. So I know what I can do to keep him happy and in a really good place. And I know when he's stressed out and needs more quiet or stuff. And then he knows that I will always be juggling 87 balls. I will always take on too much. And I will occasionally have massive depressive slumps, and he accepts that as part of me. It's really weird. He genuinely says, you're worth it, even with all the noise.
That's awesome.
I know. I'd leave me in a heartbeat, because if you think about how crazy my life seems, inside my head, it's way worse.
Wow.
But he's in it, and he understands what I need to keep going, and he keeps doing that.
That sounds like an awesome partnership, an amazing
It's an amazing partnership. He does most of the cooking, because I'm crap at it.
Oh, jeez, where do I get one of them? No, actually.
Yeah.
And so, like, not to overstate the obvious, but it sounds like you guys communicate a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to. Like, you can end up like ships passing in the night, like flatmates, hey, and then just go to work and stuff. But you've actually got to make time to double check. Like, if I was being really good, I'd actually have a week calendar, and he'd see me fill it in and go, these are the places I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And then everyone would be calmer, but obviously I don't take that.
Sounds too structured.
I know, right? That doesn't involve winging it. But yeah, so that kind of thing really, really helps.
Yep.
And when the wheels start to fall off, we go back to the basics of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're quite comfortable, and actually we just need to bring things back a wee bit, dial it down a wee bit, get over this hump. Nice. I wanted to touch a little bit on some of what you're doing currently. So you've been doing a bit of study.
Oh my God. Okay, so started with the antenatal classes and then the weddings. And so you asked me about All You Need Is Love, and then I spoke for like 45 minutes and didn't mention it. All You Need Is Love was suggested by a friend called Hannah, and I was trying to find a website that, talked about what I do. And I absolutely love the movie, whose name I can't think of, and they've got the All You Need Is Love and the wedding scene.
I don't know, but we can delete this. But like,
we're going to edit. We're going to edit the crap out of this.
It'll come straight off the bat.
Exactly. And so there's this amazing scene, and it's the Beatles song, but the couple's getting married, and then the choir people stand up and start singing.
Love Actually?
Love Actually.
Yes.
See the movie.
Thank you.
Love Actually.
And the scene. I love that movie.
I know, it's amazing, right? It's probably my favourite movie. So Love Actually, and the scene where the couple are about to get married and the audience is filled with performers.
Yes.
And I absolutely loved it. So when she said, All You Need Is Love, I'm like, boom, that's it.
Lock it in.
Yeah, sorry, any of the remaining Beatles that may have ownership of that phrase, but...
No, you deserve this.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's been my thing. And so that's how I chose that brand. And then it's just been working with various people through the years to kind of tweak that brand into some kind of cohesion.
Cool.
But my brain doesn't work very well with cohesion, so it's still a hot mess.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you've kind of recognised some of the way you operate, and it doesn't need to be this bog standard way that people like to think we all think.
Oh,
because I don't know
massively.
Actually many people do. Like people, like we're so everybody attacks these things from such different ways. I don't even know what normal is meant to look like anymore. In any case, so you've been working on that.
I've been working on that. So what do we do? Antenatal classes, weddings, and then I'm like, damn, I want to work with postnatal people, because ever since I had my kids, I've been helping people. So, another mum in my antenatal group had really bad PTSD, and I just drop off some tiny baby clothes and some tissues, leave it on doorstep and leave, not run. And just helping people, someone with twins, someone who had a baby really early, pop into hospital, give them a hot chocolate, say, please feed your baby, it's been too many hours. And stuff like that. So it just kind of organically came through there. And I was hanging out with, there used to be there's a support service, obviously private because there's no mental health support funded, but it used to be called Wellington P&D Association, Postnatal Depression, and then they've changed to Little Shadow, or Little Shadows. I always forget the S. And so I did some stuff with them, did some learning and some classes for myself, and just kind of hung around in that area, which was cool. And breastfeeding was horrific the first time and awesome the second time, and I wanted to kind of share that with as many people as I could. So I wanted to become a lactation consultant, and that at the time, so when I first started wanting to do this 6 or 7 years ago, it was too hard. It was way too hard. So I just started doing, bearing in mind, amazingly supportive hubby, 12 years of maternity leave, kids are at school now. I was so going to exercise and get a full-time job when they joined school. Sucker.
Yeah, these things just don't never, can't get around to it.
Exactly. And so I just started hanging out, and I started volunteering at a breastfeeding place in Porirua, and then kind of realised, actually, I might actually be able to make this work. There was this amazing person who incidentally studied to be a childbirth educator in the same online course as me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, never met her, but knew her name. And I saw her on an online post on Facebook talking about how she has a job funded by the Central Health Board.
CCDHB?
No, not Capital and Coast. So, like, I think it is called Central.
Okay.
She's like in Fielding, Palmerston.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like that's the Horizons area.
Yeah. Which isn't called that anymore because it's all changed and I don't know what it is. But anyway, I saw her in a post saying that her job was to help people become lactation consultants, funded in her area. And without her help and breaking down the health science prerequisites, I could actually do it. And so I started studying, and then COVID hit. And so I'd started volunteering, getting practical experience, and started studying over COVID. And actually, the good thing about COVID is all these courses were now available online. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And cheap. Like,
nice.
Courses
Even
that...
better.
Yeah, because, like, to do one paper at Massey, you can't get a student loan for that because you're not doing a degree. So all my study's been self-funded.
Good on you.
Yeah, your
It's a
husband.
huge achievement.
It really, really is. And so, started doing that, but $2,000 for the anatomy and physiology and biology paper, that kind of thing. It's like, Whereas now I could have done that online with any number of organisations for a couple of hundred.
Nice.
Maybe even a couple of hundred US, but...
Still cheaper.
Cheaper, and you can...
More accessible, I would imagine, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, the courses will tell you whether it's a 2-hour course or a 100-hour course. So a 100-hour course is equal to a semester, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
So take note, anybody who's looking at studying or trying to fill up that, plug some knowledge gaps, that there's more than one way of cutting this.
Absolutely. Online, do it. There's amazing. And if you get the really cheap ones, if you don't like the person tutoring, you can either speed them up, so they talk faster, or you can just ignore the course, like just,
Yes.
Yeah,
I
just,
like that.
I'm out of it. Yeah. So I did all these health science prerequisites and then did the big $1,000 breastfeeding course thing, and was chipping away at my hours, but because of COVID, contact hours. So to become a lactation consultant, you need 15 health science prerequisites, a $1,000 course, a $1,000 exam, and 500 practical hours with a mentor and breastfeeding families. So you can't just pay someone for you to spend 40 hours with them. It only counts if they have 18 visits that week. Right. Spoiler alert. I don't know any lactation consultants working full-time privately. It's not like an electrician. And so you work really hard to promote yourself to fill your days with appointments. That's just the way it is. Man. Everyone loves lactation consultants, says, oh my God, I wish I had you, but no one calls.
Wow.
Which is tough. So since I became qualified in July, I think I've worked with maybe 6 families.
And I would imagine the need is much more than
the need is much, much more. And the need is, as soon as people have the baby, probably the first 6 weeks is probably the most crucial.
Yeah.
So in my dreams, I'm going to get there.
Cool.
I'm going to get there. As a lactation consultant, I can't get hired by what was CCDHB because their rule doesn't allow you to work in postnatal ward, unless you're also a nurse or a midwife. That's because they are so short of nurses and midwives, they want to be able to move you into another department if they need you to.
Yeah, that's almost an unintended consequence of some of that.
Yeah. I could have got a job at the Hutt Hospital. The people working there are amazing, but their rules say that because a lactation consultant doesn't sit under an umbrella like the midwives do and like the nurses do. I could only be hired on basically a health worker pay rate, which is half or less than what a lactation consultant would earn if they were also a registered nurse.
Does
midwife.
not seem to value the role.
Yeah.
Yeah, the value.
And it's bigger. It's the people. It's management's not recognising that it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I found out I'd never get a job at the DHB, and that nearly broke me. Because the whole time I've been studying, I thought that was it. Once I got qualified, I could actually get a job, work postnatal ward, people who've just had a baby, help them out then and there. So I achieved my 500 hours.
Congrats.
Thank you. Gave the space, the volunteering hours to another student. So effectively stopped working with breastfeeding and then applied for the exam, so $1,000 down, and then had to wait like 6 months for the exam. And then I sat the exam on the 1st of April, ironically, and then I got my results at the end of June. They give you 12 weeks to get the results.
June 2022?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. And it was like, they say 12 weeks, and it was like 11 weeks and 6 days.
Ooh, check that out. Ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I know. And I passed. I'm absolutely, I was not expecting that. Because the pass rate's like 70 or 80%.
Okay.
Yeah. So it really is the best of the best getting through.
It sounds like it.
It really
sounds like it. By the time a person has persevered and overcome each one of those obstacles, the financial aspect aside, that the time commitment.
Because you can't get a job if you are hoping for a lactation consultant to book a client who agrees to let a student come along. So you need to leave your schedule free for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got lots and lots of offers from one really lovely Irish lactation consultant, but I had to turn her down because I had other things on or kids homesick. So that flexibility needed to achieve those hours was probably one of the biggest obstacles.
Man, well done. Well done on passing and well done on persevering all your way through that. I'll bring it around to, what's some advice you would give to somebody else that is looking at maybe they're passionate about something or they're just not comfortable or they're not confident enough to take that next step? What's some practical thoughts that you would want to share with them?
If you can talk to people about it, talk. Introduce yourself to people, ask them how they got where they were. That's my style, just throw it out there. And depending on what you're interested in, get involved with it. Like, volunteering is huge. And if not, then signing up to mailing lists and getting lots of information. If you aren't comfortable getting out there, then just go ninja about it and just read as much as you can online and find out as much as you can about what it's like to do the thing you want to do. Depending on, if you're looking for a career to make money, I'd suggest not working in health.
Right.
Because it's just not what... People make a good income and can live, but it's not something you join because you want to, become a millionaire and stuff.
This is something you're passionate about.
This is something you're passionate about. And so you can go softly and find out lots in the background, or you can put yourself out there.
Nice.
And ask. And, I would have quit 100 different times on this journey through all of everything I've been through, all the studying and the hours and COVID and trying to find people I could help. That's really tough. But I just kind of what else am I going to do? I'm on this, I may as well just keep going. So there was a little bit of that. But there was also a lot of lying around in my pyjamas feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is some real world challenges, man.
Yeah.
Like actual. Awesome. Where can people find you? How can people get in touch with you?
Just the website, All You Need Is Love. Yeah. And if people are wanting to train up in something, I'm happy to chat about whether they want to become a lactation consultant. I can tell you the faster and easier ways of doing it than I did.
Because you've got a lot. I've had a look at your website, and there's, you cover a lot of bases, like with the wedding celebrants, the lactation consultancy, the antenatal classes. I feel like I've missed something as well. No?
That's about it.
Cool.
Baby naming ceremonies. I'm booking one of those soon for one of my couples.
Man,
with
rock
the baby
on.
I've worked for. Oh, lovely, lovely family.
Cool.
Gorgeous baby girl.
Cool. Love it.
The only thing I haven't talked about is my day job.
Oh, yes.
I got the best day job in the entire world.
And it is.
It is. I am a community health worker.
Yes, this is actually what I wanted to pull into it too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone's heard of Plunket.
Yes.
Okay. The government has changed that. It's no longer your Plunket checks. It's your well child checks. And the Well Child is funding that different organisations can access. So, the Well Child Tamariki Ora program is for 0 to 5, and I work for Oratoa, iwi-based organisation in Porirua, and I am part of a team with, there are 6 nurses, so there's 3 in Takapuwahia based, and 3 in Poneke in the office by the Basin Reserve, and I will be based in Poneke, and my job, I can't believe this, is to provide additional support to anyone who needs emotional or breastfeeding support with their children.
Man.
I know. So any nurses picking up someone who's struggling a bit or needs help with solids or milk supply or weight gain or weaning or just finding life a bit tough, I can literally go in and see them and just chat.
This is a match made in heaven.
I know. I'm like the luckiest person in the world. I've been there for 2 weeks, about to start training done in Porirua, and about to start moving to Poneke to work with the people in Wellington. So my area covers pretty much Churton Park, Granada Village, to the airport and all around there. So I'm going to be tootling around a lot, seeing a lot of people. I'm setting up in this very venue, the Collective Community Hub in Johnsonville.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Free venue, and I'm going to be running, we're calling them Tamariki Ora groups.
Cool.
Yep. And it's just, we're going to hang out. You get a free cup of coffee here and maybe some baking. And then I'm going to have a talk, which is not going to be like university, me standing up there waffling on. It's going to be a lot of asking what people want to discuss and teasing knowledge from the whole group. And then after we've chatted, there's time for me to work with breastfeeding support. And then at 12 o'clock, there's free lunch.
Wow.
I know.
Where do I sign?
Soup, bread rolls, and dessert. I'm in it for the food. But it's going to be phenomenal, and it's going to be every single Thursday in Johnsonville. And anyone is welcome to come. Well, I need to tell people in regards to my hours, but until then, I'm just going to help as many people as I can.
I love it, and that feels like a vibe for you as well.
Yeah,
like
big time.
You are involved in a lot of this stuff where you're kind of bringing value to people's lives, and I love it. It's an amazing story to share. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
I really appreciate your time.
Wow, I talked a lot. Oh, well.
Good. There's a lot of good stuff in there too.
Yeah.
Good quality stuff. It's still recording as well.
That's okay. It's the mute button's lit up red, so that would be really funny if it was on mute the whole time.
Yeah. It's a strange thing. I don't know why. I don't like the design, but anyway.
So tempted to press a button, but no, I'm not.
Oh, you can feel free to.
No, I know.
Thank you again. I really appreciate your time. I'll call it there, and that is us. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. And please remember to take the 15 seconds to click follow or subscribe if this was useful. And keep an eye out for the upcoming podcast launch of Confident at Work. All right, folks. Always, please do remember to be uncomfortable and grow.